You are watching the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament brought to you by iFixit. SCVs for the real world. The Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And Esports United, sponsored by Intel. This broadcast is also made possible by IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Global Gamers Invitational. This is Mac and I am here with Railcoon of IC Cup TV, and we are here in Game 2 of the match between TLO and his opponent, TTOne on Steps of War. I want to quickly thank the sponsors who have brought these players out today. They are iFixit SCVs for the real world, and also Esports United, sponsored by Intel, and last but not least, the Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. Previous game, TLO going down to what was just a back and forth, really close game, quite frankly, but TLO never quite got ahead of his opponent. TT1 just very solid play, no mistakes, and really that's how you beat a guy like TLO. TLO is a very dynamic player, very flexible, very imaginative, but TT1, like I said, just ruthlessly efficient. Nothing fancy about what he did last game. It was just solid through and through.
Yeah, it's just really good mechanics, really good decision making, and really good unit control. Like when he's putting all of that pressure into TLO, you could see that he was in a tough position. He had TLO back in the corner, but if he just went for it all and tried to end the game, he probably would have come out of it very, very badly. It's a very tempting situation when you have the Terran backed up that far to try and just end it. But he made the intelligent decision that every time he lost those zealots supporting the stalkers, he just pulled back, waited for a few more units, and just put on the pressure again. And when you're in the heat of a really big game like that, it's actually really tough to make that intelligent decision of saying, no, I should back off. Something a little bit underrated is the ability to decide to withdraw in what looks like a great position for you.
And that is such a good point about Protoss play in general. It's very hard to look at a Protoss player and say, wow, that guy's really good. I brought this up previous game with Huck. A lot of people say Huck is not a very creative player. He always foregates, but that's the whole point. So Protoss is all about. It's just, I use the word ruthlessly efficient, and that's totally what describes the way they play. There's nothing especially fancy. They just have really tough units. They throw down force fields, and they kill you. It doesn't look complicated, but it is from the player's perspective.
So we do see that TLO is opening up with a Tech Lab Barracks. Pretty standard. Probably see him get that quick concussive shells. There we go. First Marauder out on the field. He does have a single Marine. So it does look like we're going to see just very, very typical Marine double Marauder pressure build. But TT1 is sending a Zealot across the map. He did get a second Zealot. So he's going to try and pressure TLO with some early units. But that first Marauder does pop out, which immediately makes TT1 run away, because if it does get slowed, it's going to die. And that concussive shell is getting pretty close to finishing.
This is very similar to the game we saw earlier today between Huck and Starlife. It just goes to show the difference of a few seconds, because in the previous game, that one Zealot essentially ended things for Starlife, but TLO getting that Marauder a few seconds earlier, he didn't get his barracks harassed, and he's now putting pressure on. That Stalker is on the way. And there were, in fact, two Zealots. That's what I missed. Two Zealots going down for TT1 before the Stalkers, and he's a little bit behind, actually. See, he has a ton of units queued up, so that second gateway was a little bit late.
Yeah, he did queue up those units to get that Chrono Boost going, but like you said, his second gateway was just a smidge late. With the two Stalkers now, he should be able to hold this off with no real issues. TLO is backing up. There is a third Marauder running to join the party, and once that he gets there, you might see him turn around and start fighting again. Trying to split up the forces of TT1 here, actually, by letting the back Marauder get into the engagement, and didn't quite monopolize on that very well, because TT1 did do a good job of not letting his units split up too far. So these three Marauders here by TLO do get taken out without really killing anything, and that's a huge deal. For this opening push. When you can't even kill a Zealot or a single Stalker, it puts you very, very far behind.
Yes, TLO now behind by 425 resources worth. That is absolutely huge. That in its own is like 3 gateways worth of just construction. So TT1 has a very strong advantage. I expect he will follow up. We see that TLO throwing down a bunker. He has to do this. A failure throwing a bunker would probably mean the end of the game. And even then, he's going to have a hard time pressing this off. It just goes to show that second Zealot really did it in that push. TLO was coming up the ramp. He expected to just see a Stalker and a Zealot. Instead, he saw 2 Zealots, 2 Stalkers. I think he came a little bit later than he thought he was coming. And 2 Zealots was too much to kite. And he wanted to just kite the 1 Zealot, focus the Stalkers down with those Marauders. Unfortunately, it ended up with him losing all of his units, and TT1 now having a massive ball.
Yeah, the 4 warp gates are really kicking in for TT1. TLO didn't get his extra production online, and still working on 2 barracks. This is not going to be enough to hold off the 4 warp gate push. Just after that, losing those initial units just put him way too far behind to hold off this attack by TT1, and he will take the quick 2-0 lead, which is a little bit unexpected. I did say, TT1 is fully capable of making a series out of this, but I would not expect him to go 2-0 very early against TLO, because I would expect it to be very close.
Definitely see how TLO does in Game 3. He is in a bit of a deficit, but he's certainly the kind of player who can pull that sort of thing off.